All right, guys. Do you remember that we talked about last week?
We talked about the authority.
The authority, right. What scripture was that?
Luke chapter 10, verse
Luke chapter 10, verse
19.
19. And I remember it was 3 Sundays ago that I came downstairs and I said, well, what we're going to talk about today is very important. And you guys should not forget, because it's not only important because of what is happening today, but it's the revelation of what is going to happen in the days to come. And this is a scripture like God has really given to us to prepare us for the days ahead. And we share that scripture. But do you know what the issue is with us as Christians, as believers, as children of God? We have one issue, we have one problem. You know what that problem is? Guess.
That like some people don't like Christians.
No. So the problem we have as a children of God is we easily forget what God told us. We easily forget what God is really like. You know, when God would tell us something, He would really specify this is very important, but we easily forget those things. And that's what the enemy capitalizes on, when we forget what we need not to forget. So what are we going to do not to forget what we're not supposed to forget? Write it down. But sometimes we've written these things down and we still forget. What do we do for us not to forget?
We study it.
We study, right? Yeah, we study, and then that makes us not to forget. So what happened to the children of Ephraim? I love talking about the children of Ephraim. Let's quickly go to Psalm 78. And after Psalm 78, we'll come back to Deuteronomy. Let's go to Psalm 78 and see.
I'm there.
Good. We're going to wait for us so we get there and we all read it together. All right, so I'm going to read from the New Living Translation. So he said, all my people, listen to my instructions. Open your ears to what I'm saying, for I will speak to you in parable. I'll teach you hidden lessons from our past stories. We have heard and known stories our ancestors handed down to us. We will not hide this truth from our children. We will tell the next generation about the glorious deeds of the Lord, about His power and His mighty wonders. For He issued His laws to Jacob. He gave His instruction to Israel. He commanded our ancestors to teach them to their generation, to their children, so the next generation might know them, even the children not yet born. And they in turn will teach it to their own children. So each generation should set its hope anew on God, not forgetting His glorious miracles and obeying His command. You see, He emphasized so that they will not forget. There's a problem about forgetting what God is telling us. So it states from one generation to another. The children, this generation, the ones that are not born, He said, tell them, teach them, so they will not forget. So there's an issue of, even if God has given us authority to tread upon serpents and scorpions and over all the works of the enemy, and He said, nothing shall by enemies hurt us. But the problem is, at a point in time, we will forget what God has said. And what do you think happens when we forget what God actually told us that we should not forget? What do you think happens? We forget.
We will be able to do what He told us.
So I'm going out from the house now, and I said, hey, guys, whenever I'm not in, whenever I'm gone, and you guys are hungry, just go into the pantry, take these and cook these and make stuff for yourself. and you guys have forgotten what I said. And then I'm gone. And then you guys you're hungry, you're starving. And you can't remember what I told you. So by the time I came back, you now say, oh, Dad, since you left, we've been hungry, we've been starving, we don't have food. And I said, but I already told you, anytime you're hungry, where should you go to? Exactly, but I already told you. But was it my fault that you didn't remember that you need to go to the pantry when you're starving, when you're hungry? Was it my fault? Whose fault is it? Exactly. So that's the point. When we forget what God told us, when we forget the promises of God, when we forget the instructions of God, what do you think happens? There is going to be consequence, and that's not going to be God's fault. So it's our responsibility not to forget. So 3 Sundays ago, I came down here and I said, there is something important that God wants me to talk about. And I said, this scripture came into my spirit. And I said, this is very important, that we have to remember this, because the days that are coming is still the same word that will fortify us against the challenges of the enemy. Do you know that we didn't like 3 Sundays ago, and now I actually forgot? And when everybody was bombarding the internet with things that were going on, and a lot of people were just subjected to fear. And I started thinking in my mind, what is going on? What is going on? And I was exposed to so many of those informations, and I began to think in my mind that there's a lot of issue going on. There's going to be such a dangerous day ahead, which we already know. But what is going on right now, what people are doing is they're creating fear in the system, which is the weapon of the enemy. Anytime the devil wants to demoralize people, he first of all will use the weapons of fear. So everybody will receive something on the Facebook and they read it, and then your heart will start beating like so hard. Oh my God, they're going to cheat us? Oh, there's G5, there is 5G, there is 7G, there's all those things all around. And everybody is just scared. But God has given us provision to prepare us for the days ahead. But when we forget the ordinances of God, the statutes of God, we decided to leave ourselves exposed to the situation and circumstances that we're going to be surrounded with, and we will not be preserved because we have only wandered out of the place of where God has given us instructions. The instruction of the Lord is very important. It says so that they will not forget. So that the only way to not forget is keep teaching. Keep listening to that instruction. Don't forget that instruction. That was why God told Joshua, he said you have to meditate on this word day and night. Not only one time. You have to meditate on it day and night. Why? Because God doesn't want you to forget. Because He knows you're going to forget. And when you forget, there's nothing God is going to do about it. If I've given you authority and you've forgotten about that authority, you don't know how to utilize that authority, you don't know what that authority is, what am I going to do? I've already given you the key, the answer to the problem. But you didn't keep it in your mind. That's why in the book of Proverbs, he always say, my son, listen to my words. Retain those words in your heart. Don't wander away from my instruction, because it's going to help you. It's going to be life to you. It's going to keep you. You listening? But inasmuch as we allow the daily activities to take our mind off from God's instruction, then the enemy will take advantage of our forgetfulness. So no matter what you're being taught by a teacher when you go to school, when you come back home and you don't remember, you didn't read it, when you want to test, what's going to happen if you don't remember what the things you're being taught and you want to test? You're going to fail. It's as simple as that. If you're being taught and in the days of test, you didn't remember everything you've been taught, when you forget, you're going to fail the exam. So if you fail the exam, is it your teacher's responsibility that you fail? It's you. So that's what is going on. God speaks to us. God tells us things that are really important to our life, to our future, to our destiny, around things happening around the world. And then we listen to God and then we forget. Can you imagine that? It's just so embarrassing that God speaks to us and we forget. God speaks to us and we forget. But God is not mad that we forget. He has a provision for it. He has a provision for us not to forget. He told Joshua, you have to meditate on this word day and night. We have to. We have to. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 6.
Okay, I'm there.
You are there. Okay.
I'm there.
All right, guys. Everybody's there. Now, listen to this. I want you guys to follow me. Chapter 6. We're going to start from verse 1. You just listen to this very well. This is very interesting. This is very powerful. Now, this is the commandment. And these are the statutes and judgments which the Lord your God has commanded to teach you. Word. God said, teach them. It was an instruction given to Moses. Teach. The same thing in Psalm 78. What did he ask the fathers to do? Teach the children. So they can tell their other children and teach their unborn children so that they can have their hope set in God. Because of the days of the battle will come. And if you're not ready in the days of the battle, you're going to run away. You're going to fail. You're going to be defeated. But God said, teach them so they don't forget. So Moses now is telling the children of Israel, listen. It said, God commanded me to teach you that you may observe them in the land which you're crossing over to possess, that you may fear the Lord your God to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the days of your life, and that your days may be prolonged. Did he say son? Did he say grandson? Right? The same thing is saying in the book of Psalm. He said they should teach their son, and then their own son would teach their grandchildren, and the one that are not yet born. So God already gave the instruction. Whatever I'm teaching you today, guys, you have to teach your kids. Are you listening? I'm not responsible to teach your kids. You will teach your kids, right? My dad is not teaching you, right? I'm the one teaching you. I'm responsible for you. You're going to be responsible for your children. That's the way God put the formulas out. You're going to be responsible. But how would you know what to teach them if I don't teach you? Now, that would be my own bad if I did not teach you what God is telling me to teach you. But in as much as I'm teaching you, and I'll let you know you have this responsibility to teach your own kids too. And then not only will you teach your own kids, you tell them they have to teach their own kids. So it's going to be from one generation to another generation, right? It's going to be from one generation to another. All right, let me tell you something. In this, he didn't say that your priest would teach you. He didn't say that your pastor would teach you. He didn't say that your teachers in school would teach you. Did he say that? So in God's instruction, the teachers in school are not part of his agenda. Are you listening? That's why I told you your education, as important as your education is not more important than your spiritual education. Remember, if you are learned and you are feeding your mental life and you're feeding your physical body and you're not feeding your spiritual life, what's going to happen? There's going to be an imbalance, right? You're going to grow mentally, you're going to grow physically, but spiritually you're not going to grow, and which is not right. And we have a lot of this happening in our